Good day, this is Ray, and this is take number 20 for me. Having a difficult time recording this video for some reason this morning. Such is life. Today is Saturday, July 18th, 2020, and for me, day number 130 of social distancing. And I hope you, your family, your loved ones, and friends are doing well and staying safe, taking appropriate measures to keep each other safe during this time of COVID-19. And, just thinking, I had an appointment earlier this week virtually, and my doctor asked me how I was doing, told me how everything was going health-wise, seemed to be headed in the right direction. And I told him, less than 30 days I'll be able to drive, and I actually have a doctor's appointment in person with my rheumatologist, and that's when he suggested to get a face shield. And that was something I was actually looking into prior to him telling me that. So I went ahead and invested in a couple of face shields for me and my family, 10 face masks on Amazon. I will post a link below in the description, and not only wear a face shield but also wear a mask. So definitely take a look at it. And I heard I don't have it yet, it should be here tomorrow, but the face shields have a film on both sides, on the front and the back, that you'll need to take off, just in case you notice the visibility isn't clear. That'll be the reason, and it's anti-fog. So it makes sense. You see doctors and nurses and other healthcare professionals, they wear all those, and even goggles, because they know how easy this virus spreads. And, it'd be something else if we had a vaccine or treatment for it, but we don't. I mean, they're getting better at treating it, but, there's no cure for it right now, or vaccine. So, like I was saying, in less than 30 days, I'll be able to drive. If you haven't seen previous videos, I had a grand mal seizure for the first time in my life back in February at work, returned to work, and ended up being out for 5 days, and had compression fractures in my back, and was out of work for another month before I went back, and then the quarantine happened, or social distancing. So if you have a seizure, you can't drive for 6 months, and it makes sense because, if I had another seizure and I was driving, it could have caused a devastating accident, and it's just better safer than sorry. So I'm coming up on 6 months, gratefully. No seizures. I hadn't had to have any anti-seizure medications, and things are looking good. So hopefully that was a one-off. Anyway, got to get ready for that. A little nervous about it. I haven't been out in public but once in a little over 4 months. So fortunately I do video conferencing from work, and I do these videos, so, hopefully I won't have too much of a difficult time trying to transition back into the real world and communicate with people face to face. So continuing on from last week and talking about coping with lupus, I'm still reading this book. If I really wanted to go into this topic in great detail, this video would be 3 hours long, and I'm sure you wouldn't want to hear me speaking for 3 hours, barely speaking for 3 hours. I am going to talk about emotions, which guys are great at talking about their emotions. Being sarcastic, of course. There's chapter 5 of this book goes into great detail about initial reactions and some other reactions that you have when you're diagnosed with lupus and you hear about the diagnosis for the first time. And I can relate to these things. I am going to refer to my notes, so I do apologize if you see my eyes darting to the left a little bit. That's why. So. Some of the things that I experienced when I was initially diagnosed with lupus was shock, denial, being calm, anxious, relieved, angry, and depressed. These are all topics that he does discuss. And so in the beginning for me, it was a bit of shock and relief. I was having lupus symptoms about 2 years prior to being diagnosed and going to the hospital. I mean, I was in dire straits. By the time I got to the hospital, I was down to 140 something pounds, and today I'm at a little bit over 185, close to 185. So I was skinny, I was skin and bones, and I was vomiting a lot and had a lot of joint pain, swelling around my lips and my face, and there was so much going on during that time. I had swelling in my throat, and I tried to wear a mask to hide it, and I just tried to explain it off as trying not to get people sick. But I was trying to hide the fact that my lip was swollen to a crazy size. So, the shock went away pretty fast because I really didn't know what lupus was. And relief is because I said, well, I know people who had lupus and are still alive. And so, having relief of having that diagnosis was okay. Then I tried to deny it. That denial didn't last long because I knew I had to accept it. It was what it was. The denial led to anxiety and anxiousness. anxiety and being angry. And the anxiety was because I didn't know anything about lupus, and I wanted to learn as much as I could. But then again, I have so many decisions to make during that time. I was a manager, and I knew, just the basic reading that some of the triggers for lupus flares was stress. And the position I was in at the time was very stressful. I was a new manager, so I was so much to learn, and having to manage people and my health, it was just a little bit too much. So, I made a decision to step down and go to a prior position. I was fortunate to do that with my company. So, being anxious, wanted to learn everything I can, having all these, I was buying books left and right. I'm looking at websites and joining, not necessarily groups, but connecting with other people who had lupus. They were telling me about their experience, and, I was a baby to it. It's newly diagnosed, so, there's only so much you can learn during that time. So now I'm a year into it, diagnosed back in May. I'm definitely not an expert at it. It's a lot that I'm learning. And, if you're watching this video and you were newly diagnosed, I would say ask questions, read this book, Coping with Lupus, to start off with. And going forward, I'm definitely going to give you more book recommendations. And, learn how to read labs, because you're going to have to get your blood drawn quite a bit for them to monitor to see if the medications and the treatments that you're having are working. So get used to that. Get used to reading those labs. And you can find a lot of resources online to find out what all those acronyms mean and how it affects you, and of course ask your doctor and your healthcare professionals about it. So depression is something I'm still experiencing, and I'm working with a therapist. I've been doing that for the past few weeks. I want to say maybe 4 or 5 sessions at this point. And I would definitely say that's something you need to invest in. For me, I'm fortunate, unfortunate, and that I've already spent my deductible and out-of-pocket maximum for the year, and it's July. So thousands of dollars. This year, last year, and the year before, I've already talked about in previous videos. And some other reactions that you might face that I did face and that I still have, a damaged self-esteem, change in body image. I look like a Greek god, all chiseled, before this lupus hit me. No, I'm kidding. I worked out a little bit, lift weights, ran, tried to stay healthy, and I got to the point where it kind of took a toll on me. I couldn't do the physical workouts that I did in the past, but definitely changing body image, self-blame. I did have that, but once I realized that this is a autoimmune disease and not something that you can catch, it just happens. I really can't blame myself for that. So negative thoughts and a death wish, I had that definitely in the beginning. So it was like, I don't want to live with this. I don't want to live like this. All the restrictions that I had, before that, I was able to just travel, get up and go wherever I wanted to go. And, I got to the point where, I had to think a week in advance of whether or not I was going to be able to go to the grocery store, to get food. Or when I wake up in the morning, it might take me an hour to get out of bed, where in the past, I could just get up and take a shower, brush my teeth, get ready to go, and be gone, and without a single thought. And I took for granted, times like that. So, this is still the same chapter 5, that talks about all these things. And so the chapter, in the end, it asks you, how can you begin to adjust? Or, it gives you guidance on how you can begin to adjust. And some of the suggestions, of course, is take charge and being positive. And those are things that I'm doing now. And being positive, that's very tough, very difficult, especially considering all that I've not lost from it. But, just the day to day, and, trying to figure out where I'm going to be a year from now, 5 years from now with this, hopefully in remission, of course. But, I just don't know at this point. So, you really need to get this book. And before I stop, and I kind of wish I began this video off, but last night, John Lewis had passed away. He had pancreatic cancer at the age of 80 years old. And I'm going to refer to my notes here because, I definitely want to talk about this and, what type of impact he's had on me, just in the short time that I've been studying his history. Of course, I was born and raised in the South, so it was something we talked about a lot with civil rights and civil rights history. And so John Lewis was born February 21st, 1940, and he passed away July 17th, yesterday, 2020. And on, you think about this, on August 28th, 1963, he was the youngest of 6 speakers at the March on Washington. He was 23 years old, speaking in front of about 250,000 people. I don't know about you, but I can't even imagine speaking in front of 100 people, let alone 250,000 people at the age of 23. I'm almost double his age at the time. And, just to have that type of impact on generations and to have change on, the life of African Americans and minorities, fighting for civil rights, equal rights, is huge. And I hope to have some impact, on generations to come, or at least in my circle. And that's all we can do. If you have the voice to be able to speak to thousands, that's great. But if you can impact your circle, that's just as effective. And I know we have a long way to go, but what he did and what he accomplished, I salute him and the many heroes and the generations before me that do these things. So rest in peace, John Lewis. We will carry the torch. Once again, I thank you for watching these videos. Please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. I hope you all take care. Peace.
Is she an angel? She's a miracle. Is she the devil?